Welcome in, everyone. Today, we're diving straight into something I know pretty much all of us have struggled with at some point, making a truly incredible pizza right at home. We're talking about achieving that crispy, blistered, restaurant-quality crust you absolutely love, but without dropping thousands of dollars on one of those fancy backyard brick ovens. I mean, we all know the absolute heartbreak of craving a phenomenal slice, putting in the effort, and then pulling out something completely doughy and inspiring from the kitchen. Well, it really doesn't have to be that way. It's just about mastering the basics and totally rethinking how we approach this classic dish.
Because here's the real secret to a perfect pie. It doesn't require a specialized kitchen. Not at all. Instead, it all comes down to following a precise, but honestly, incredibly simple technique using the regular oven you already own. It's about maximizing the everyday tools you have right in front of you to engineer the absolute best possible crust and flavor. You don't need a wood-fired outdoor setup to create something spectacular. You just need to understand the basic science of how dough reacts to heat.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Can you actually pull off pizzeria-quality results in a standard, everyday home oven? It's kind of the ultimate kitchen challenge. Let's dig into exactly how our source material solves the age-old problem of the dreaded, soggy homemade crust. We're going to break this whole process down step by step so you can replicate that incredible crunch and chew without leaving your house.
Now, look at this lineup. What's truly fascinating here is how accessible this foundation is. You literally do not need a specialty pantry for this. We've got your basic dough essentials, just everyday flour, a little instant yeast, some sugar and salt to balance everything out, warm water, and a splash of olive oil. Honestly, it's pretty amazing how such humble everyday ingredients can transform into something so universally loved. And for the rest of the pie, totally straightforward. Half a cup of basic sauce, some shredded mozzarella, a dash of Italian seasoning, and whatever toppings you're craving. No complicated grocery run required.
All right, so you've got those raw materials together. Now, the real magic happens. After you gently mix your dry ingredients with the warm water and oil, you've got to put a little elbow grease into it. You need to actively knead this mixture for a solid 5 to 8 minutes. And hey, this isn't just about mixing things up. This is where you're actively developing the gluten. You're looking for a total transformation here, taking it from the sticky, shaggy mess to a perfectly smooth, elastic dough ball. That specific effort you put in by hand, that is exactly what gives the crust its structural integrity and that amazing chew.
Once you've got that perfectly smooth dough, you just cover it up, and now for the hardest part, doing absolutely nothing. Leaving your dough in a warm place for 45 to 60 minutes is absolutely vital. This isn't just downtime. Patience is practically an active ingredient at this stage. This resting window gives the yeast time to activate, develop those deep, complex flavors, and essentially do all the heavy lifting for you. You want to leave it totally undisturbed until it is roughly doubled in size. That rise is what creates those airy pockets that eventually turn into those beautiful charred bubbles on your crust.
Okay, pay attention to this next part, because heat is the ultimate game changer. You need to get your regular oven roaring hot. We're talking 475 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 245 degrees Celsius. This is the difference between a sad floppy slice and a sturdy, crispy one. And here's a massive pro tip straight from the source. Put your baking sheet or pizza stone into the oven while it's heating up. Do not put the dough on a cold pan. Preheating that surface is exactly what shocks the dough the second it makes contact. It flash cooks the bottom and guarantees a phenomenally crispy crust.
Next up, we get to play architect. Take that beautiful double dough and gently, very gently, stretch or roll it out into roughly a 12-inch canvas. You want to handle it carefully to preserve all those little air bubbles you just spent an hour building up. From there, spread on a nice thin layer of sauce, add your shredded mozzarella, and start building your custom flavor profile. This is where you get to put your own creative stamp on the whole shebang.
But wait, pause right here. You absolutely must exercise restraint at this step. The source material gives a very direct, literal warning about this. Don't overload it or the center can become soggy. I know. It's incredibly tempting to build this massive mountain of cheese and meats and veggies, but if you ignore this rule, you will completely sacrifice that perfectly crispy foundation we just worked so hard for. If there's too much moisture sitting on top, the heat can never crisp the dough underneath. So keep repeating this to yourself. Less is absolutely more.
Actually, before your pizza even hits the heat, check out this super easy pro upgrade. Now, a standard crust is going to be delicious on its own for sure, but to really elevate it, just brush the outer edge with a little olive oil and give it a quick sprinkle of garlic powder. It takes maybe 5 seconds, but it transforms that plain edge into something packed with savory flavor. It's just a tiny attention to detail, but it makes a standard home-cooked pizza feel like it came straight out of a high-end restaurant.
All right, the moment of truth.
Carefully transfer your prepared pizza onto that screaming hot preheated surface. That sizzle you hear right when it hits the pan, that's exactly what you want. Let it bake for about 10 to 14 minutes. You're looking for a beautifully golden, blistered crust and cheese that's actively bubbling. Now, when you pull it out, I know it smells incredible and you want to dive in immediately, but summon a little patience. Let the pizza sit for just 2 to 3 minutes to set up. That ensures the cheese doesn't slide right off when you take a cutter to it, giving you that perfect, clean first slice.
So there you have it. You now possess the exact blueprint and techniques for flawless home oven execution. The only thing left to decide is your flavor profile. With this perfect, incredibly crispy foundation literally at your fingertips, what toppings are you going to choose to define your masterpiece? Will you keep it classic with a margarita, or are you going to get adventurous? The possibilities are pretty much endless. Go get creative, and more importantly, go get baking.